What is going on, YouTube? Just finished a bit of a workout, so I thought I'd kind of film a bit of an update video. Yeah, first of all, thanks to everybody who subscribed to the channel. Look at 1,000 subs. Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. Thanks, guys. I think it's insane that like over 1,000 people want to watch a dummy like me and see what I'm up to. It's insane to me. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know. I thought I was gonna be able to live stream. That's essentially why I even pushed to get 1,000 subs. But YouTube's still not letting me live stream. I literally just tried to do it now, and it says that I'm not eligible. So maybe they like slowly give you access to that stuff. Um, but yeah, other than that, I competed in an arm wrestling tournament on the weekend at the PAL Canada event up in Angus, which is north of Toronto. I competed right and left, so I think there's some videos floating around of some parts of the matches. I don't think you can see all the restarts, but I think all the pins are up there online. So I competed right and left. My right was a little bit injured to begin with. I have some like weird pains down in like here. So I didn't think my right was going to do too well, but I said, whatever, I'll try it anyways. I did better than I thought, considering that it was kind of hurt. My left felt awesome going into it, but yeah, unfortunately, just didn't win any of my matches. But yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. Yeah, it kind of took I took a couple things away from it. I think my biggest problem is I'm just too relaxed, man. Like everybody else is all like amped up and jittery and ready to go, and I don't know. I just can't build up the nerves, I guess, for an arm wrestling match. So I got to figure that out. But you know what? I didn't get flashed or anything. I think everybody who pinned me, they had to like work for it. So I don't know. Good on, good on me. Little what do you call it? Like a participation sticker. So yeah, that was awesome. So thanks Magda for putting that up or that event on. That was great. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Got some good practice tabling in there too. So that was good. So yeah, something a lot of people have been asking me about. I think I'll just put it in a video so I can kind of direct people to it. Is asking me what I think about the Devon Thor boxing match. I think it's awesome. I think it's like I don't know, man. Like when do you get to fight or have a boxing match against one of the strongest guys in the world? Maybe in the world ever, right? Like when do you get to do that and punch that guy in the face? I don't know. I think it's amazing. I think it's a amazing opportunity for Devon. The and as far as who I think is gonna win, I don't know, man. Like I'm a homer, right? Like I'm not gonna give Thor a chance. I've seen Devon move a little bit, so but whatever. Like it's a boxing match. Like anything can happen. But at the end of the day, I think Devon's gonna crush the guy. I think he's gonna crush him. But again, I don't know, man. Like Devon's a buddy of mine, right? So don't take anything I say and put money on it. The because even if he was terrible, I'd still think he'd have a chance, right? At the end of the day, it's a fight. It's a boxing fight, so anything can happen. But yeah, I think Devon's gonna crush the mountain, right? He's gonna just destroy him. Actually, speaking of and with boxing, I don't know, man. I really do hope that these kind of like celebrity type, or not even celebrity, just kind of like grudge match boxing fights become more of a thing. I think it's a great way to solve an argument or a debate. Like if you have some serious beef with somebody, obviously with Devon and Thor, the beef part is not really there anymore because Devon's a replacement for Eddie Hall. But I think the Eddie Hall Thor fight, like that was like a legit, like those guys hate each other as far as I know. Um, but yeah, I think it's something that I hope it becomes more popular because there's something about fighting somebody when you really dislike somebody and then win or lose, you kind of have a bit of respect for them after the fact. And I think boxing's a lot safer. Like I think an MMA fight would be more raw and you'd really get to see kind of how gritty people are. But a mixed martial arts fight for somebody who's like not trained or somebody who's getting ready for it just for a few months, it's not enough time, I think, to prevent like a lot of injuries. In mixed martial arts, you can tear ligaments, you can break bone. And not to say that those things can't happen in boxing, but they're just very rare, right? And I know people say that the concussive brain damage you can get from boxing can potentially be worse than mixed martial arts. And I think throughout a career, maybe that's true. But I think on an individual fight basis, I think the brain damage you take in mixed martial arts has the potential to be a lot worse. And mainly because you can get kneed in the face. Like a knee to the head is like no joke, right? Like people have had their skulls cracked by getting kneed, like right in the forehead. There was who was it? I think it was like Cyborg versus MVP. Yeah, I think that's the match where MVP kind of hit him with a properly timed knee just as Cyborg was kind of going down and putting his head down, and he hit him right here. And he pretty much caved his skull in for all intents and purposes, right? So, not to say that an untrained fighter can throw a knee like that, but I think there's a lot more risk of severe injury along those lines, especially with like submissions involved, like somebody who's in like a toe hold or an ankle lock and doesn't really know what to do, and they don't feel like they're in danger, and then now the guy's got a snapped ankle, right? And that can potentially hurt you for the rest of your life, depending on how old you are and depending on how bad the break is. So, I think having these like grudge boxing matches or like celebrity boxing matches, whatever you want to call it, I think it's an awesome thing, and I hope they just keep doing more. And again, I think anybody who's got a beef against somebody, or let's say even people on YouTube that are like semi notable, even if they're not notable people, like whatever. I think it's a good way to solve differences, right? Because like I was saying earlier, there's a type of respect you gain from putting yourself in a position against another person where both of you are trying your best to hurt each other, right? And I feel like if it's like a grudge match type thing and one person does get knocked out or severely injured, and I'm not saying severely, again, boxing, I think if you have a one-off match, the severity of the injuries I think are pretty low for the most part. That kind of puts a nail in it, right? Like those two people, even if they hate each other before, one guy's got to be like, submit a little bit and say, okay, all right, I got beat up, let's move on. And the other guy's like, okay, I got my shot in, like, let's move on. Or if both guys, it's very even, regardless of who wins. If both guys get a couple of good shots in, there's just a respect that you build for somebody in fighting that I don't think you can get in a lot of other ways, right? And to be honest with you, I think we've kind of lost that a little bit as like a society. I feel like people are saying a lot of stupid shit online. And again, I'm no saint when it comes to that stuff. Like I troll people and I say stupid stuff on the internet too. But I feel like a lot of things are said even in real life now, right? Like people doing road rage and flipping each other the bird while driving down the street. I feel like if there was a risk of injury, right, when those things were happening, I feel people would just be nicer. I feel like people would just be nicer. They'd be politer to each other. And people who have never been in a fight, I feel like if they thought that there was a chance they could get into like a fight or a boxing match with somebody, I feel like once they did, they'd have a better respect for that person, and then they probably wouldn't goof around as much, right? That's my opinion. What do I know? I'm a dummy. Don't listen to me. And speaking of boxing matches, the Jake Paul, Tyrone Woodley boxing match that like just happened. It's I don't know. I don't know. People will say what they will, saying it's bad for boxing or it's stupid or whatever. I think it's interesting as hell. I think it's super cool. I think a lot of people learned that Jake Paul's probably a fundamentally better boxer than a lot of people thought, and myself included. Like I thought he was just some sort of can crusher. And again, I'm not saying he's good by any means, but you could see he's got boxing fundamentals, and you could see he's probably better than most people gave him credit for. And he's an athletic guy, but I think what came out of it is you could see that Jake Paul's probably fundamentally a better boxer than Tyrone Woodley, but Tyrone Woodley, by far, I think, comes out as the better athlete, right? Like, he's just a better athletic dude. He's got better athletic accomplishments. Like, the guy was legit, like, top tier. Like, I think he's in his 40s now, maybe, early 40s. I don't think he's that much less dangerous than he was before. But, a boxing fight is obviously very different. There's different movements in boxing. The punches are slightly different than you would throw in fighting. Like you could tell that Tyrone Woodley was still kind of standing in like an open tie stance for most of the fight, and he was essentially like blocking low punches instead of putting his arm down to block like a body shot. He would kind of throw his arm out to try to catch it, which he was getting away with. But I think if he was to do that against a more seasoned boxer, they'd start throwing feints to the body, get him to drop his hand the way that he was doing it, and then they would go to the face or whatever, right? But yeah, I think Jake was probably a little bit over hesitant. Well, I think both guys seem to be over hesitant to really commit to throwing like big combinations because it was a very low volume fight, right? I might be wrong, like maybe I'm misremembering things because it was a couple days ago, but I feel like there was only maybe 8 to 10 punches thrown per round per guy, right? So you're talking about 3-minute rounds with like sub 20 punches being thrown. That's like super low volume. That like, you know what, as fights goes, as far as testing people's cardio, like I know Jake Paul is saying like, oh yeah, I can go 8 rounds. I don't know, that was a pretty low volume 8 rounds. Like I really only remember there being, I don't know, maybe 3-4 like intense moments when there was like some real serious exchanges. The rest of it was people, was either guy just throwing 1-2s or, just a couple of jabs and kind of following each other around. I know that I think Paul got hit one time pretty good and it kind of knocked him into the ropes a little bit, but not good enough that he was able to recover pretty quick, I think. And then, in that case, like Woodley for some reason didn't charge him, which I guess he was respecting. I guess the power. I guess you could feel it, right? When someone punches you in the gloves, you have an idea of how hard they could hit. So I guess he didn't want to overcommit and potentially get caught. But at the end of the day, does this make being that Jake Paul's like a super awesome boxer because he beat Tyrone Woodley? I don't think so. I think he's okay. He's decent. He's decent. But if there was like a seasoned fighter at that weight class in there with him, like not a seasoned fighter, but like a seasoned boxer that's like his age or close to his age, would he have won that fight? Probably not. But being Tyrone Woodley is no joke. Like that's legit. Like he was a legit top tier welterweight champ, right? Like he defended his belt like 4 or 5 times or whatever. But as far as the outcome of the fight, like, did he really win that fight? I don't know. Maybe, I guess. Like, maybe he outstruck him a little bit. But you're talking by, like, a handful of punches, right? Like, you're not talking he just dominated him. He might have... I don't know what the exact round difference was. But, oh. Yeah, sorry, making a video. Give me 2 seconds. Yeah, sorry. I'm going to cut this out in a second. But... yeah, so he lost. Sorry, he won the fight, I guess, but technically, I think it was close. I think if it was a draw, I don't think anybody would have been upset about it. So if he did really win, it was barely, right? But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I got my family just came home, so I gotta dip out and go see them. But yeah, thanks for subscribing to the channel. Hey, stay powerful.